Hey everyone. I don't think anybody's on yet, but we'll wait for somebody to come on and stimulate some conversation. We got one viewer. Just waiting for some people to connect and show up, and we'll do kind of a Q&A session, talk tractors. It's too cold outside to do any wrenching, so we can't really get much done with that, but feel free to ask questions and anything that's been on your mind lately. I do want to give a couple shout outs to Old Farm Junk 101, Richard. Um, his channel is an awesome channel. He is constantly wrenching on old stuff. So if you haven't been to Old Farm Junk 101, definitely check that out. His channel is awesome. He's helped us greatly with the H project. So go check his channel out. I've also got to give a shout out to Squatch 253, his restorations, and all of his knowledge and willingness to help out in all kinds of different realms, I guess you could say. You got to check his channel out. The stuff he works on is, I mean, far superior as far as the restorations that I've done. So, hey, Doug, thanks. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming in, stopping by. So Old Farm Junk 101, go check his channel out. Squatch 253, check his channel out. Let's see, Jason 1PA. He is also a cool person. He does a lot of antique tractor stuff, hot rod stuff, a lot of just random wrenching and things happening around in the garage type videos. Check out his stuff. Pretty cool guy. He's got a John Deere A, that 39 John Deere A, that's really awesome. So, hey, what's going on, Broken Wrench? Welcome back. I know you've been a long time follower of the channel, so I appreciate that. Arkansas too. I bet you it's a lot warmer in Arkansas than it is here. Hey Ryan, what's up? Ryan, he's a big contributor to the H project. So again, we appreciate all the contributions you've kicked in. Hey, speaking of Richard at Old Farm Junk 101s, he's here. So how you doing? It's good to talk to you on the phone for the first time. Great conversation. It's good to kind of actually have some one-on-one time with you. So, and I definitely appreciate everything you've done for the H project. So, 43 degrees in Arkansas. Well, it's about probably 45 degrees colder than that here. It's probably below zero right now, but Jason, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Glad you like the videos. I was just looking. I was telling my wife, she was wondering about how many subscribers I have, and I said, well, I think we're somewhere around 3,000 to 3,500, somewhere in that range. But I looked at how many views my channel has had, and I've been doing YouTube for like 12 years. And some of my earlier videos are just random young 20-year-old stuff, but it's definitely progressed into this. But where was I going with this? Oh, my channel overall has had 990,000 views, and that's like blows my mind. I mean, we're almost at 1 million views since I started YouTube, and I don't even know how how we got there, but we're there almost. So it's pretty crazy how far this thing has reached. But 2 days ago it was 69 degrees. Well, I don't think we're going to see that kind of temperature until at least probably late March, maybe mid-March, but most likely late March to April. So we got a lot of cold ahead of us. No, we can talk tractors, man. Whatever. What's on your mind? Go ahead, Jason. Oh, two more shout outs. This Old Farm, go check out that one. Connor, they farm with mostly classic, vintage, and antique equipment, so go check out This Old Farm's channel. He also has a lot of videos from threshing shows like I do. And then 1928 Farmall Ben, you should check out his channel because he restored a Farmall regular, and he's working on a couple more tractors now, a Case DC and a Massey Harris Model 20, I believe. So go check that stuff out. Pretty good stuff. Let's see, let me get caught up here. Robert, hey, welcome, man. Love the videos. Learned a lot about the M from you. From me? Learned a lot about what not to do. Todd, hey, welcome, man. Good to see you. Whoop. Hope I didn't break the table. 3 below here. Winter's already too long. Yeah, well, we got a long ways to go, bud. But I've had a kind of a number of emails regarding the H project and where we're at with that. Real quick, Jason, I'll touch on that, but where we're at with the H project is the belt pulley housing still sitting on my workbench all torn apart. We're waiting to go down to my cousin's shop to clean all those parts, and we're also waiting on a bushing that needs to be custom made for that because they aren't available anymore. From there, we're going to get the hydraulic pump. We'll do the reseal and regasket on it, clean it all up, and then everything is ready for sandblast. So we're going to go piece by piece, and that way everything is clean inside and out, and we'll start fresh from the bottom. So that's where we're at. Belly pump, or belt pulley, belly pump, sandblast, primer, reassembly, paint. So Jason wants to know if you need to pull the input shaft out to get the bearing off. I believe so, yes. So the input shaft is held in a carrier, and it actually has an outer and an inner bearing. So yes, you'll have to pull the whole carrier out, and then inside that input shaft, there's a pilot bearing where the top shaft of the transmission rides inside of. So there's actually 3 bearings right in that section of the input shaft and main shaft. So yeah, you'll have to pull the input shaft to get the bearing out. Yeah, Robert, I try to keep everything running. The Minneapolis that needs the tank boiled out. That's the second tank I've had on it now, and I've talked to a couple shops because the problem is that tank has a baffle halfway through. So anything that I put in there to try and, as an abrasive to try and get all the loose rust and crud out of it, I probably won't be able to get out from the other side of that baffle. So the solution is to cut the far end of the tank out and then clean the far end of the baffle side out and then weld that section back in. And, then you're for sure you're clean, and you put a sealer in the tank. But that's the only one that really is down right now. The John Deere D, that obviously that's a long ways from running. So I'm hoping I can try and at least pull the engine out by next fall, or this coming fall, I should say. But we'll see. It all depends on how long it takes to finish up the H, and that's our priority. So you're replacing the seal. Jason's replacing the seal on the input shaft, and it seems you may need to pull the shaft. Not if I remember correctly. There should be a seal carrier with 3 bolts, I believe, around that input shaft that you can pull out. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to replace the bearings, it'd be really tough to get that inner shaft lined up without. Well, you could pull the belt pulley off. If you got a belt pulley, you could come through the top of that belt pulley opening, and you could support that top shaft while pulling that input shaft carrier assembly out. So yeah, I mean, there's ways to go about it without pulling the top cover. So, but if you're replacing the bearing, then you definitely you have to pull that input shaft assembly. So, and that pilot bearing that goes inside the input shaft is an expensive part. I think the one for the H was right at about $100, and it's only just about the size of a golf ball, if not a little bit bigger. So need to take the top off because of the shifter forks. Well, the shifter fork doesn't. The shifter fork doesn't engage with the input shaft though. So as long as you don't allow those things to fall out of the forks, if you're supporting them and you pull that assembly out, then I would think you could get by with it. Maybe not. I've never done it that way. So this is the first time I've ever been into a transmission this deep, so I mean, worst case scenario is you pull the belt pulley housing off, you look at it and go, yep, I'm gonna have to pull the top cover. Robert wants to know how to seal up pinholes in an oil bath air filter cup. Well, there's a couple ways you could do it. The way I would do it would be to sandblast it and braze the holes shut, or you could try and weld them. Otherwise, a much less expensive way to go or time consuming would be to just pull it off, degrease the heck out of that cup, and then use some JB Weld on the inside and just smear it over those holes. And JB Weld is phenomenal stuff. I've had nothing but good luck with it. So yeah, Todd, I mean, if you're just looking to get by with it, I'd say JB Weld, and it'll probably never leak again. But if you wanted to fix it right, you'd have to pull it off, sandblast it, make sure it's completely free of grease, weld it, prime it, paint it, or braze it. You could probably braze them too, but kind of along the same lines of welding. Did I miss anything here? Wrong color on the John Deere. I'm confused, Robert. You talking about my cup? Yeah, JB Weld. As long as you got that thing super clean and grease free, that's what I would do. David wants to know if I have any interest in ever doing garden tractors to add to the collection. Well, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of room, as you can tell right now. But if I had a building, I wouldn't mind having a vintage garden tractor. What I've really wanted to do, and actually Rudy is working on something right now, but I've always wanted to take like a vintage garden tractor chassis and then install like a horse and a half McCormick Deering or John Deere hit and miss engine in it, and have that as the power source for the garden tractor. I think that would be cool. I've seen a few of them at shows, but I think it'd just be something cool to putt around with. And I don't. I've always wanted to have a hit and miss engine, and I don't really have a use for one just sitting there. So if I get something like that, I want to be able to do something with it. But as far as collecting vintage garden tractors, I really don't have any desire to, because I just don't have a use for them. Not that I have a use for seven or eight tractors, but I just enjoy it more to be able to justify it, I guess. Well, a fire truck will take up a lot of room, but we've got. Have I ever? Hey, yo, Slick, what's up? Have I ever put or worked on a hand clutch in an Alice CA? No, I haven't. I have done very little work with Alice Chalmers. Um, I just I didn't have a whole lot of opportunities to work on them. There's a couple guys in the club that have them, but I don't know much about them. I know their firing order is reversed from what normal four cylinders are. So, like a Farmall or most of your other manufacturers are 1.342, and I think Alice is 1.243, if I remember right. But I rebuilt carburetors for them. I've put tubes in the tires, and that's about the extent of my Alice work. I helped a friend, Pete, on his WD with some head work. We just did some, cleaned up the combustion chambers, lapped the valves, did that whole thing. But can't really help you with the clutch. But it looks like Broken Wrench might be able to help you. So, Farmall Chris, welcome, bud. Glad you enjoy the channel and the videos. They help me too. Sometimes I go back and refer to my videos to help refresh my memory as to how things came apart. So I rarely consult manuals unless it's for torque specs or clearances, stuff like that. Otherwise, most of the time, all the reassembly is in my head. So picked one up at the Pioneer Power Show. That's a cool show, man. I haven't been to the show, but I've been to the swap meet. So it's a good swap meet, one of the best in the nation, I'm told. Lane, what's up? Welcome. Got a 54 Super H. Hey, that'd be a good one to have. Live hydraulics and all that. That'd be a great one to have. Is there anything coming about on the Farmall F12 I helped my friend bring home? Well, he's got the engine back together. He picked up a set of rear steel wheels for it. I think right now he needs a manifold. He's trying to. I don't know if he wants to find a used one or buy a new one, but I know he needs a manifold, and um, there's an access plate on the carburetor side of the engine that has. It's for like the coolant passages, so you can clean out around the jugs. That plate has a bunch of broken off screws, and he needs to either drill and tap or remove those screws and reinstall that plate. But other than that, I mean, he's got the motor back together, so he's just looking for the smaller pieces now to get it going. But hey, Luke, thanks, man. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everybody. So hope you guys had a great holiday season. Everybody got everything they wanted, and Carnival Rides used IHC or Alice engines from a B or C. I did not know that. I went to a snow tubing park that had a rope tow to go up the hill, and they had that thing PTO powered by a Farmall 400, that was pretty cool. I was a lot younger when I went there, but Doug wants to know if I stay current with new tractors at Farm Progress shows. No. Um, I I don't farm anything other than rust, so I'm in this purely for my own enjoyment and the preservation of history. and I think it's important that these things be, kept alive. But as far as the new stuff goes, I have pretty much anything newer than 1955. I have like zero desire. I have a little bit of knowledge about that stuff, but I don't have any desire to learn much about it because it just doesn't interest me. I mean, I grew up with the antique stuff, so that's where I get my enjoyment. But I don't follow a whole lot of the new stuff. I know I just read an article the other day that most most of the farmers that aren't, large, huge farmers are going to start reverting back to the classic equipment, 80s and 70s, because they can work on it. Right now, you can't work on anything that requires computers because, from what I understand, the dealers have all kind of created a monopoly on it by hoarding the software codes, so you can't even access the computers on them. Farmer NK wants to know what the best tractor show I've been to is. Has to be Western Minnesota Steam Threshers Reunion in Rolog. I mean, that it's got to be probably top 3 in the country. But I know that the one in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, I can't remember what it's called, but I know that's a big show. I'd like to hit that one once just to go. There's the Florida Flywheelers. That's supposed to be a really good show. Um, Actually, one of my club members and YouTube channel friends, Mike, he goes to that every year. His channel is GMC Cracker Jack Box Truck, GMC Cracker Box, Cracker Jack Box Truck. I have a hard time ever remembering it because it's such a long one, but it's GMC Cracker Jack Box Truck, something like that. So he's gonna kill me for not remembering, but have I ever went to the Mackinac Bridge tractor crossing? No, I have not, but I would love to do that, at least to go and cross that bridge, even just because I've never done it. But it's, if I remember correctly, isn't it like one of the longest bridges in the country, or the longest bridge in the country? Any plans to visit the Squatch compound in 2020? Maybe. We've talked a little bit about doing some collaboration videos, and maybe. So something with the John Deere D we're thinking, but that's all I'm going to tell you. So we'll see. But I usually see him at least at Now Then and one or two other shows. So we usually cross paths somewhere throughout the year. But he's helped a lot. Speaking of help, Connor from This Old Farm just got here. How you doing, Connor? Good to see you. Glad you can make it. I know you're busy, just like a lot of us. So 27 Farmall regular. You got a Minneapolis Moline JTU? That is a tractor I'd like to have. I would trade my Moline ZTU for a JTU in a heartbeat. I think those JTUs are super cool. Yeah, use the BFH on the computer stuff. That's what I usually do. Even this computer sometimes. Thresherman's Reunion in Edgerton, Wisconsin. That's a pretty good one. Minnesota Oliver and Deere, what's up? Keep them warm out there. How's the shop coming? You've got a surprise for threshing shows this year. Okay. Oh, Dave, what's up? Welcome, man. The bridge is 5 miles long. That's a long bridge. I don't know how long the Golden Gate is, but Hyatt, how you doing? Welcome. Almalin's a good show. It's about the same size as Now Then. It's, I don't know. The only year I brought my tractor to Almalin was 2 years ago, and I had a real negative experience. But I don't know. It's gonna take some convincing for me to bring any tractors back there. It wasn't a good experience for me. So I'll still go to the show, but for me to bring equipment is like, nah. The Mackinac Bridge, when it was built, is the longest suspension bridge in the world. I'm sure it's still in the top 10 in the U.S. It's got to be. What's special about the JTU? I think it's just a really neat design. Um, it was kind of the leap forward and predecessor to the Z series. So basically, it'd be like the F20 version of a Farmall H. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of the earlier version of the Z series, and it's just a really neat looking tractor. Google it. It's really neat looking. I think the air cleaner is mounted right in front of the radiator. But trying to get caught up here. Still got a project bought out of Stillwater, and it's green. Only paid 300 for. Oh, it's got to be probably something of the garden tractor sort. Oh yeah, Old Threshers. That's the one in Mount Pleasant. Thanks, Trish. Cockshuts are cool. I like them. They got a very cool streamlined look to them. Actually, Richard, Old Farm Junk 101, he's working on a cockshut and a co-op right now. If you haven't checked his stuff out, go check it out. He's in the middle of two of them right now. So Larry's got a 36 JTU. Well, hey Larry, let's do a little swapping. Whatever happened to Brigham's time bomb, A. John Deere? It's still sitting in his garage. He picked up a replacement block for it, but it needs to be sleeved. So that's been kind of pushed into the back corner. So it's not really a priority for him right now. He's concentrating on getting his grandpa's John Deere B painted up and ready. So the Model A is just kind of sitting there. Plus, it costs a lot of money to sleeve a John Deere block. I don't know if you guys know that, but most of the time, those big bore blocks, it costs some money. Thanks for stopping by, Connor, and don't work too hard. Stay warm out there, man. If I work on an early Minneapolis, don't have my feet under the oil pan when I pull the head because the head bolts hold the oil pan on. Good to know. Thanks. That would hurt. International Scouts are cool. I always liked the pickups, the early '70s International pickups. I thought were cool. Ryan McLean wants to know how I like Allis-Chalmers. I think they're all right. I like the unstyled WCs. The UC is a really cool Allis-Chalmers, but I don't know. The WDs I think probably look the nicest when they're all painted up. WD or WD 45s. I think they look really nice when they're painted up, but I don't know. I don't have any desire to go jump out and get one. I kind of have something in the back of my head. My wife put a limit at 8 tractors, so I have something in the back of my head that I want, and then that'll be number 8, and I'll probably be done for a while unless I decide to sell one to get something else. But Hyatt wants to know what the biggest impression on me was, riding on the Case 150 or seeing the big boy steam locomotive. Well, they're kind of two different things. So I always loved trains when I was really young, but tractors is my thing, man. I mean, look at the channel, tractors is my thing. But that 150, every time I see it, I am in absolute awe. If you ever get the chance to go out and see that 150, absolutely do it. The big boy, that is an engineering marvel. That thing, just hearing the whistle on that thing is incredible. I mean, It shakes everything in your body. And actually, I caught it when it went north. When it was going back south on its southbound trip, I was working out in the backyard, and I heard the whistle coming through the trees, and it is almost a haunting sound hearing it from a distance versus being right next to it. It's pretty cool. So, I mean, for me, it's a 50-50 thing. Whether you're on the road or you're on the rails, it's the culmination of a hobby, you know. Do I have any plans to build a shop? Someday, someday I hope so. Just got an H with an International 30 loader and a 3-point scoop. That would be useful. Those 30s are good loaders, man. How did I install the sleeves for the M? I used my sleeve puller and pulled them in just like I would have pulled them out. So I used my sleeve puller kind of like a press, basically. Going to try and get out to the farm for the NH350 Big Bud and the 1468 and drive them. The 1468 would be fun. I've never driven anything that big, so. What's my preference for shows? Big ones or small ones? It depends. You know, it depends on what they got. Sometimes those small shows are really cool because they got some really unique stuff and rare stuff. I mean, Rolog has unique, rare, big, small. They have everything. But sometimes those small shows, you find some really cool diamonds in the rough. You know, like the Albany show. That is a cool show because they have a lot of really rare equipment. Excuse me, I just ate pizza. And they also have a lot of really large prairie gas and kerosene tractors, oil pulls, Rumleys, Big Four. You know, a lot of those are at Albany, and that's really cool. So it just depends on what they have to offer, you know. Oh, Richard's got a 36 JTU. What the heck? Where's the videos on that? I think you did have a video on that, actually. I think I remember seeing it, but any desire to have a gas-dirting diesel international? Yeah, I'd love to have a Super M diesel, but I don't want the TA just because the TA is something I don't need, and it's not. I don't. It's an added expense. TAs are very expensive to rebuild, just the torque amplifier itself. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to have a. Hello. I'd love to have a Super M diesel, the stage 2 with the live hydraulics and everything. I think that'd be cool. Hey, Steve, thanks for coming. Glad you guys like the channel. Glad it has helped you out. You know, my misfortunes and mistakes have, have taught a lot of people, so I'm all for that. Have I ever worked on a Wisconsin engine? Kind of. I've worked on the magnetos for the Wisconsins. Usually they run an Fairbanks Morse FMJ or something on those Wisconsins. So we get those all the time at Rudy's shop. So, oh, speaking of shout outs, everybody needs to go check out Rudy's channel, rebuiltmags.com. He's got some cool videos on some of the magnetos he's done. He usually posts the rare stuff that he does. You know, they're beautiful magnetos when they're done. Plus, if you ever wanted to meet Rudy, that's your chance to put a face to the name. Am I a mechanic by trade? No, I'm not. I used to work in an aftermarket truck accessory parts supplier, and I did, installation technician, sales, management. I did all of it. So I've been around wrenches my whole adult life. Plus, the first tractor I started tearing into was a Case SC, and I was like 12 years old. So I've been doing engine stuff my whole life. I'm self-taught. I never went to school for it. So you don't have any tractor shows in Maine, huh? Well, it sounds like something you could start up. I bet you'd have a following. I know Oliver 66 Farm Boys channel. I've seen his channel, yep. And a Hard Par 70 is that that tractor that is on my number 8. That's the one on my list. So Hyatt wants to know how I came up with Kizzle in my channel name. Well, I didn't want to use my last name. I didn't know what to come up with for what can I say? Other handles. Usually on a forum they call it a handle. So I didn't really know how I wanted to do it. And I was still really young when I came up with my YouTube channel. I've had this for 12 years, so I was 21 years old when I made my YouTube channel. So I used my high school nickname, which was Kenny Kizzle, and that's how I came up with it. I mean, if I could go back and rename it, it would absolutely have something to do with antique tractors. Like Busted Knuckle Garage has their channel, or Rusty Nuts Garage, because I call my compound here Rusty Nuts Ranch is just what I call it. But I would do something like that if I could change it. How's the best way to get a tractor club? Start one. My best advice would be to see if there's any groups on Facebook. I mean, you could always get on like the Farmall group. International Harvester has like 25 or 30,000 members. You could just do like a Maine, who's from Maine type thing, and then you could get in contact with those guys and see if they ever wanted to create a club or create a group. You could also Google the International Harvester Collectors clubs and see if there's any chapters local to you, because I'm sure there's chapters in almost every state. John Deere, same thing. The Alice Chalmers and stuff, that might be a little more difficult, but there's still plenty of them out there. Anderson Rock Creek Relics, I heard, was possibly going to be no more. I know that the old man died a couple years ago, maybe, and then I'm not quite sure if the widow, had passed away yet or not, but I heard that it was kind of on the fence as to whether they were going to keep it going or not. So, but I'm definitely open to suggestions. Yeah, I bet, Richard, I know where you can get a Super WD9. I bet you do. Which one of my tractors is my favorite? I like each one for their different reasons. Obviously, the Case SC is kind of my honeypot, just because that was my grandpa's tractor, and just to have his tractor in my garage is a cool thing to me. But the John Deere D, that's always been on my bucket list, so that's right up there. The Farmall M, that's not my grandpa's tractor, but I built it to be exactly like it. It's got the same loader, the same throttle. I've got a few more wheel weights on the rear, but that's probably right up there for me. My grandpa worked for Minneapolis Moline for about 20 years, so my Minneapolis Moline kind of has a special place in my heart, because he worked there. So he worked on the assembly line actually from the 50s on to the 70s, when they shut up shop and got bought out, and actually White called him back to help them kind of in their transition, and then he retired after that was over. But the F20 I think is cool because it's so elemental and cranky. But I don't know. They all got a special thing I like about them. But I think the Case SC is probably, because that was my grandpa's first tractor, so that's probably my number one, I guess. It's the one I'll never sell. I mean, if I ever got in a tough spot. Hey, John, thanks for stopping in, man. Glad you remembered. Have I thought about getting a road gear for the F20? No, that thing goes probably close to 10 miles an hour. So with those 36-inch rear tires, plus it's got the fast fourth in it, because it's a late model F20. So we don't need a road gear for it. I would like to swap out the rear end for a narrow so I can get it on a normal trailer. Dave wants to know how big of a job it is to rebuild the lift-all pump. Well, the lift-all pumps don't have a whole lot to them. It's mostly springs, check valves, and there's a couple gaskets plus the reservoir, a pump gasket, and then the drive seal. But I've never torn into the pump. I've only replaced the main gasket and the drive seal. So I couldn't answer that fully, but I would check around on your Facebook forums. Have I looked into Morton buildings? Yeah, I've looked into them. Trust me, I've looked at a lot of buildings, a lot. But it's just not in. It's financially we can't do it right now. So H is a good tractor. I mean, that's a tried and true tractor. Could never go wrong getting an H. Do I think you could find an Oliver 60 this summer? Yeah, just got to keep your eyes open. Facebook Marketplace is a great spot to look. Yeah, I'm not sure as far as the Rock Creek Relics show. You know, I've heard a couple different things. I know people that go every year, and I know it's a good show, but I just haven't been. So I'd love to go if it continues. I'd love to make the trek. Hey Tim, thanks. Welcome for tuning in. Glad to see you. I've tried to hand crank my M a few times, and I've gotten it running, but man, with those those overbore pistons plus their dome pistons with the stepped head on them, so that it's a tough tractor to crank. I'd rather use the electric start. I gotta let the dog out quick. Okay. Let's see. Grew up using in-house. Yours settles slowly. Does it settle while running or only while it's off and sitting? Dave, your lift all pump. Do I have an opinion on Massey Ferguson? You know, to tell you the truth, I really know absolutely about this much about Massey Ferguson. I know very little about him, so I don't really have an opinion either way. I mean, as far as I know, some of their newer stuff is pretty good, but you know, newer. I mean, you know, prior to Agco buying them out, but I really don't know that much about them. You know who a good person to ask would be? Richard at Old Farm Junk 101. He knows a lot about a lot of equipment. He's going to auctions all the time, and he tears apart all kinds of tractors. So well, if it creeps down, Broken Wrench, he used to work on internationals, so he would know quite a bit about them as well, I think. So Broken Wrench, maybe you can help Dave out with his pump, because I mean, like I said, I've never rebuilt the actual pump assembly. I did know about the upgrade kit though for the 750 psi. How many folks are in our tractor club? Probably maybe 20, 25, something like that. And we're not an organized club. We're a self-proclaimed club. We don't have entrance fees or membership fees, and we don't, you know, we try to get together at least once a year outside of the shows, but sometimes if, you know, we're all busy, I work overnights and rotating days off, so it's tough for me, especially now with a 10-month-old, to really get together with them. But other than outside of the shows, plus everybody, I mean, we've got members in Florida, Nebraska, you know, in Minnesota here, obviously, so a lot of us are spread out too, so it can be tough. But I'd say there's probably about 20 to 25 people, and we try to get together and at least have a meeting to plan for, at minimum, plan for now then, and then we usually we have an ongoing Facebook message about you know, just whatever's going on. And when we're going to go to a show, we always get on that message and invite each other if we're going to go, and say, hey, I got an empty seat in the car. You want to come with? You know? Let's see. When I did the bell pulley teardown, did I have a hideous smell of old gear oil? Absolutely. The reason for that is because it's splash lubricated, and there's a lot of areas for old gear oil to sit in there and just hang out. So it doesn't, especially if it doesn't get used, that the gear assembly inside that bell pulley doesn't fling new oil around in there, so you're not washing it out. And yeah, it definitely stunk. Dave, I'm not sure if you know this, but the rear cylinder on the left side, or whichever side has the dual ports, I think it's the left. The rear port is a delayed action from the front two ports on either side. So if you're going to plumb a loader up, you should actually use the front ports on that hydraulic pump, because that rear port is a delayed action for cultivator lifting. So what would happen was you'd come to the end of the row, and the two cylinders operating the front would be plumbed into those front ports, and that would lift the front. And then as you were moving, that rear port, since it was delayed, would then raise after the front. So it would be kind of a, you know, an up slope towards the end of the row. Tractor Hyatt wants to walk around Richard's area and check out your treasures. Well, put a comment on his channel and ask him how to get in contact with him. He'd probably love to have you out there. Okay, Dave, I was just checking. I'm not. What's the next project after the H? That's gonna be. I'd like to tear into the John Deere D and see what's going on with it. I gotta let the dog in. Come on, Noah. Come. Come. But the Case SC, I need to do the bearings in the rear end on that, so they're making a lot of noise. So I need to do that at some point in the near-ish future. But I want to tear into the John Deere D and see what's going on with it. So that's kind of on the docket next. But the H is priority. Oh, just a heads up, this is only going to be a 1 hour live stream, so we got about 11 minutes to go. So I just want to give everybody a heads up on that. I got to spend some time with my wife and the baby. So it's been a crazy few weeks here. $120 and $140 gear oil always stunk. Yeah, that's true. The thicker stuff is a stinkier mix. But I'm in the process of converting everything in my tractors over from 80/90 weight to 85/140 in the rear end, and then engine oil I'll be running 15W40 Rotella diesel oil. It's a lot better than a lot of the other oils out there. So plus it's got zinc in it, which helps. Yeah, that M&W live pump would be great. Although on the M, it is highly recommended if you put a live pump on them to upgrade the cam gear, because the early M cam gears are known to break with the live pumps. So most people put in the Super M or even the Farmall 400 cam gears. Was my F20 a factory upgrade to the Fast Fourth because it has steel cutoffs? I would imagine that it was a factory option, but the factory cutoffs I bought from a salvage yard because I needed some rims. The rims that were on it were rotted away. But yeah, it actually had original F&H round spoke 28-inch rims on the rear, so it would have been quite a bit slower than what's on it now with 36s. So my guess would be it's probably from the factory that it had the Fast Fourth. Doug wants to know what my baby's name is. Raylan. Any sleepless nights with the baby? Well, I never sleep at night because I work at night, but my wife has had a few, but we've been really lucky. She usually sleeps about 11 or 12 hours per night. Hyatt wants me to say hi to his wife Monica. Hi Monica. Thanks for watching. Hope Hyatt doesn't spend too much time on the computer. Tank heaters. Do you want to know my opinion on them? They work to an extent, but when it's 30 below, you're still dealing with cold oil. So that's really the issue, is the cold oil and the oil pump not being able to pull it up from the oil pan. What's the most interesting tractor I've operated? That would have to be Squatch 253's Minneapolis Moline 445 prototype crawler. I was lucky enough, if you watch my Now Then video from I think 2 years ago when the Minneapolis Moline was the feature, he actually let me take his 445 prototype crawler out for a rip, and that was probably the most interesting tractor I've driven. I've also driven a TD6 crawler, so those are the only two crawlers I've ever driven, and it was different, It's different when you're doing all this stuff versus just steering and hand clutch or foot clutch. Does my wife have a favorite tractor? um, she tolerates my tractors. She appreciates what I do with them, but I guess she prefers, whenever she comes to the shows, she prefers to drive the Case SC because that's the one she's comfortable with. That's the one I had when I met her. Um, Actually, that's the only tractor I had when I met her. So, and if it wasn't for my wife, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have all these tractors. she's she's very supportive of this hobby she's great. Congrats on the baby. Thanks, man. Yeah, she's been awesome. You have a 2-month-old and a 5-year-old. Hey, congrats on the 2-month-old, and hopefully our next one's a boy, but we can't really plan that. I'm very happy with Raylan. I'm glad she's a girl, and it's been awesome having her. So I wasn't partial either way, but I'd at least like to have a boy at some point. So, but if we don't, we don't. Yeah, Jason, you're probably right. My F20 probably does probably close to 12 or 13 miles an hour. I've never clocked it, so I don't know. I was just guessing somewhere around 10 miles an hour, but it's probably, yeah, somewhere in there. Crawlers aren't too bad once you get the hang of them. Okay, we're at the 5 minute mark, so I'm trying to keep everything caught up here. Yeah, I've got a magnetic oil pan heater as well. I don't use it right now because the tractors are parked way back there, and the nearest plug-in is right here. So I don't want to run 300, 400 feet of extension cord just to use those magnetic heaters, you know. Your wife and kids bought you the H? Now that's a surprise. That is cool. Yeah, what I'm told with kids is usually if you have a girl, they're easy at the beginning, and then when they get into their teenage years, they're very difficult. And then with boys, it's usually difficult in the beginning, and when they get to be teenagers, they're whatever. They're the easy ones. So I guess if we have one of each, then we'll get both sides of the coin. But yeah, it's fatherhood's been great. Marriage has been great. You know, everything has its ups and downs, but overall everything's been great, and it's been exhausting. You know, I work overnights. I do daddy daycare during the day while my wife works, and then you know you make do with what you got. Plus, I got the YouTube channel, so I try to keep you guys all in the loop as much as I can with wrenching videos and all that. And then I also work with Rudy on occasion when he needs the help. And hey, Jason, no problem. I mean, I figured I can't wrench, so I might as well do something. It's already below zero again, so we got 6-8 inches of snow for that 36-hour period where it was 25 degrees, and right back to the sub-zero temps. But hey, thanks, Doug. Appreciate it, man. We still got 3 minutes. Texan Leon, I'm guessing you're from Texas. Welcome to the channel, bud. Holy crap, Dave! You got 7 kids, 3 boys, 4 girls. Holy cow! That's a lot to handle, man. My hat's off to you. I am in Minnesota, and I actually have relatives in Texas, in the Dallas area, in the Austin area. So I've been to Texas a number of times. I actually rode my motorcycle down through the Moore, Oklahoma F5 tornado back in 2013. Went right through the middle of it. Worst weather I've ever seen in my life. Hey, Tim, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Thanks for the support. Don't forget to check out the GoFundMe. Everybody. You're south of Dallas, 130 miles? Okay. Yeah, tornadoes, I mean, we get them all throughout the Midwest. They're pretty rare up here in Minnesota, but we get our share too. So I've never, other than that F5, man, that was horrible. But 26 to 15-year-old, that's a good span. But for 7 kids, you'd expect a span like that. Yeah, I'll try. Like I said, if anything, I'd like to at least just go to the Mackinac Bridge. But that crossing would be cool. Yeah, yeah, earthquakes. I don't want to do no earthquakes. You guys can keep those on the West Coast. I ain't messing around with those. Yeah,
Well, let's see. We got a minute or so left. Let me check the weather. I want to know what the temperature is here. I'm guessing it's close to 0, plus the wind chill. Right now, the temperature is 11, feels like 1 degree. Tonight, it's going to get down to 3 degrees with a wind chill below 0. But it is what it is. Wide Glads are good bikes. I'm a Softail guy myself, but I like the Softail Deluxe. That's my favorite bike. I actually have some videos on my channel of my motorcycle builds. If you look back into my playlists, there's some Harley playlists in there. So I built a couple early Sportsters, kickstart only XLCH Sportsters, and then I built a Night Train and a Softail Deluxe. But it is 6 o'clock, so I'm going to let everybody say their goodbyes real quick. And I'm going to stick true to my word and go spend some time with my wife and my daughter. And hope you guys continue to watch and hope you enjoy watching. And yeah, if you ever got any questions, you can always email me, kenny.kizzle@yahoo.com. So I'm always open to, talking tractors or answering questions on stuff you're working with, or just if you just want to say hi, feel free. So looks like everybody's saying their goodbyes. So I just want to say thank you for all the support you guys have given me. Don't forget to check out that GoFundMe on the H Project and share it on your social media if you can. We're kind of getting into the home stretch here, so the more we can do, the better. And I mean, the better for donations at the end to the Save organization. But if we end up with empty hands, we can still do a lot of good work with this tractor at the shows and stuff. So yeah, that's all I've got. Until the next video, hopefully it'll be the belly pump or the belt pulley and the belly pump stuff. So after that, it's off to sandblast, guys. So we're in the home stretch. Everybody take care, and thanks for tuning in.